Welcome back to the
Brad's
Detroit
talking
Lions
about.
Collective on a very, very special episode. I'm your host, Jeff Iafredi from Crunch Time Sports.
Look at my dog,
Alongside me,
Jeff, man.
Colton Pouncey from The Athletic, Justin Rogers, Detroit Football Network, and Will Birchfield, 97.1 The Ticket. And we have a very special guest today, Detroit Lions General Manager Brad Holmes. Before we get started, I got to clarify something. So I'm joined by three professionals. I am the talking head, so
What's the deal,
I'm going to have a little bit different of a perspective today, more so from the fans. But I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I think this is a cool setup. Ask anything.
Fire away, Justin.
Don't take that literally.
We were going to bring down the podium and put it right here between us all, but this seemed more comfortable.
I think this is good enough. Yeah.
Well, I think logical starting point is free agency, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Signed several names. I think we're going to kind of get
shit
into
up
a
here,
few
bro.
of them,
This
but
shit all in my
want to start
way.
right off the bat with Kate Mays. You know, that was, if you will, the splash of the group, the multi-year deal of the group. And so, more than anything, what did you ID with Cade that made him the right fit, particularly at that center position where I think there was a clear need?
Yeah. It started off with basically looking at the totality of all the available free agents in general. And so as you're working down like a pool of lists, then you start getting to a vertical stack and rankings of guys. And the more that I started to look at Mays, the more I had so much appreciation for really how long he had been playing the position and how better he kept getting. And, you start looking at, okay, what is our identity offensively? And what have we had at that center position? And, bigger guys that can anchor. Obviously, he's got the intangible qualities. He's tough. He's instinctive. He's athletic, all those things. But, for our quarterback, a guy that can anchor in the middle is huge. And so that's why he kept kind of staying near the top. And so when you start looking at the kind of the vertical rankings, you're like, okay, all right, you have the guy that got paid the most money. Okay, you got him there. But when you start looking at the gaps in terms of who's 2 and 3 and 4, those gaps start getting a lot smaller, after you get past one guy. And so then that's when Mays just kept making a lot of sense. And so I think he makes a lot of sense for offense. I think he's still got upside. I think he can still get better. And so we're really happy to get him. And you have to also play those scenarios with, yes, obviously that was an important position to acquire this free agency. But, okay, how can you get him and get some other players as well? And then
I'm not going to lie, it was a good pickup. It was a good pickup because we did need a center. They was talking about putting Tate Ratledge. They was thinking about putting Tate Ratledge at center, bro. I'm like, bro, you had him play guard throughout the whole season. Now you want Dog to play center. He got to learn center. You better off just drafting a center that already plays center, bro. So that was a good pickup, though.
those are the scenarios that you're also trying to play out.
So just wider view free agency, you guys hand out 14 free agent contracts, all but one were one-year deals. That's generally how you guys have operated in the past. And we should probably pause to mention that most free agent contracts in the NFL tend to be one-year deals. But can you explain to our larger audience why those one-year deals fit your team building plan right now?
Yeah. So, we have trying to think I'm trying to find the most concise way to explain this. We knew what kind of financial constraints that we were in, in entering this. And it had to take a lot more looking at everybody from top to bottom. When you have more money to spend and lesser constraints financially, you can do a lot more focus on just the mid to upper echelon guys. And you don't have to really you can get to the, let's call them tier 2 and 3 and 4 guys a little bit later. But when we're looking at the constraints that we had financially entering in, it's like, okay, all right, we're not going to be able to do a lot of multi-year deals because for what we're trying to do with these extensions that we have upcoming, the implications that it would have on our cap would be I don't want to call it crippling, but it would have been hard to overcome. Guess I could say. So we were kind of limited in how many multi-year deals that we actually could get, and that takes apart. Like, we can want that, but then the player and the agent has to agree to it too. And so it's not like you're looking for prove it kind of guys, but you can find a lot of good football players that maybe have started out playing some good football and had some bumps in the road, and then they're kind of get it back and they want to just do a prove it deal. You factor an age into that. But it did make a lot of sense of where we're at from a financial constraint standpoint.
Just to ask about maybe a departure, Dave Montgomery. I know you and Dan both mentioned you wanted him back. Can you kind of just walk through the timeline of how, that all came to be with him going to Houston and the return you got?
Yeah. Look, it was pretty. It was evident that there were less.
Don't worry, Brad. I totally understand what is going on, but most of these fans are clueless. They are clueless, bro. A lot of fans, a lot of Twitter fans, they are, oh my goodness. I made a video about it. I mean, the amount of people that commented on that and they felt the same way is crazy. I thought it was going to be the other opposite. But I mean, I see what he's doing. He's trying to go younger with the depth. We all see it. But people are just, people be too ignorant, bro. They be too ignorant to see what he's trying to do, bro. We all see what he's trying to do. Since he been here, he been making the team get better and better, and people just don't see that. So I don't know. I don't know right now. I don't know. They just don't see that.
Touches that he had. And look, a lot of it is it's not just him. It's how Jameer had ascended. And so me and David's agent, we all had really, really healthy dialogue, and so we just kind of thought it was best for all parties. It was right after the end of the season that, let's just see if, we can get the proper return. Because I told his agent, I was just like, look, this guy's a good player, man. Like, we're not just giving him away, so
Nah, for
we
real.
were happy
He is a good
with the
player.
return that we got. I'm happy for David. I think he's in a good spot, but that's going to be not only a loss of just a player, but he was such an impact on our locker room from a leadership standpoint,
Right.
our culture, but it was all healthy dialogue. There was never any bad blood or anything. And I think it worked out well for both parties.
Brad, in a league where running backs maybe aren't valued like they used to be, the consensus seems to be that you guys landed a really nice return here. 2 draft picks, obviously a potentially valuable roster player in Juice Scruggs. The report was that David's preferred destination was Houston. I'm sure you guys entertain more options than just Houston, but can you explain how you navigated his trade market and just how pleased you were with the ultimate return?
Yeah, really, I knew he would have a market because he's a good player and he's still, in a prime age. But really, I think the reason why we got the return that we got is because it was multiple teams competing for his services. And so we were really happy with, the draft picks, but then to able to get Scruggs in it, I mean, that kind of put it over the top.
Well, we know Scruggs. Scruggs probably not gonna play. He's just a depth piece at the center position or guard. Luckily we got Cade Mays. Thank God, man, for real. But yeah, bro. I mean, David Montgomery, he probably didn't fuck with he just didn't like all the playing time he was getting. He didn't get that much playing time last season, so he was just like, yeah, bro, I'm not gonna I don't want to come back. And you got to understand, I mean, he is 29 years old at running back, and we all know how running backs are when they start hitting that stage. Are they still the same? And sometimes they not, sometimes they are. But yeah, man, I mean, it was bound to happen. I mean, last season was a terrible season. You know, it was rough. This team needed some depth after all those injuries last 2 years. Yeah, the injuries has been really killing the Lions the last 2 years. It's just the injuries, bro. If we can have which is very tough to say, but if we can have no injuries throughout the season, like if our key players cannot be hurt throughout the season, like if we can have Branch healthy, at least if we can have Branch healthy for like 12, 13 games, or maybe even if he could be healthy the whole season, we'll love that. If Kirby could be healthy, I know that his knee is kind of, we don't know about his knee, but when he was at the Michigan game, he looked like he was okay. It looked like he had a limp a little bit, but that's probably how he walked. We don't know. Laporta got this back injury. People, I was talking to somebody on Twitter. They don't think Laporta is going to be the same no more, but I don't like going overboard like that. I hate going overboard like that. Yeah, it's tough, man, to say we don't have injuries because injuries is part of football. Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, it's part of that's just how it is, man. That's just literally how it is. But I can't wait for them to get into the draft part though. I want to know what they're gonna say about the draft.
Top, there were other teams that were willing to entertain similar kind of packages. But for where we were as a team, especially from an offensive line standpoint, to add a player like Scruggs, so we did a lot of work on in the draft process. His center ability actually was really impressive since he's
Appreciate the
gotten to the
follow right now.
NFL, and then able to play both guard spots. So again, it worked with us from a financial constraint standpoint as well. And so that when we got Scruggs in the package, and that was like it was a done deal.
Plus, if you can add a football player named Juice, don't you kind of have to do it?
Yeah, and he has juice, man. Like he does his makeup and all the intangible qualities that he possesses. We're all blown away by that coming out of the draft process and his makeup and the whole thing. So just to see actual tangible evidence of him starting both guard spots, starting center, and actually holding his own at all three, it was impressive.
Brad, speaking of juice, Isaiah Pacheco has some himself.
Yeah.
I love Isaiah Pacheco. I don't think Isaiah Pacheco's bro. I just hope that Isaiah Pacheco could turn into that player that he was 2 years ago. Like from his first year, when did he get drafted? He got drafted in 22. Yeah, so if he could be that 22, 23 running back that he was, I think that would be straight. The first round is going to be so important, don't you think? Yeah, I think it's going to be very important. I think it's going to be very important. It depends on what we're going to do. Honestly, I made a TikTok about it, I think. I think I did. I don't know if I posted it or not. But I said that we should go after a tackle. I was gonna say edge, but I really don't know if Brad gonna go for an edge rusher. I don't know if he's gonna go edge rusher. I think Brad is tired of hearing edge rusher. I just know he's tired of it, bro. He gotta be. But if we do go tackle, I think I like Spencer Fanu. I like Moreau Freeling. I like Caden Proctor, Caleb Lamu, or Blake Miller. I think those the five right there. At tackle, that I would say that would be good for us. Um, the only thing with Caden Proctor, bro, like Caden Proctor just got to lose a little bit weight, man. I know he is 6'7", bro. It's like he could, like, bro, maybe shed, like, he 352, maybe shed to like 332. You know what I'm saying? Or 322, something right there. Go get Bosa sign a 1-year deal for defense end. I think they're gonna go all the way unless the guy they want is gone. Yeah. I think they should though. If Moreau Freeling is there, then yeah. I think if Spencer Fondle some way somehow falls, bro, that would be a good, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that would be good, bro. I feel like he should run to the damn thing, run to the card, and put that name in right then and there. Cause he a good player. I mean, he blocks good, great pass blocking, good run blocking, like everything.
Obviously, we know what he can be at his best, but the production has kind of dipped the past 2 years. Injuries have been a factor. I guess, what was it about the evaluation process that kind of led you to him, and what type of a player are you getting in Pacheco?
You know, me and Dan have always been a big fan of that too. And just the way he runs, man. He runs with urgency. He runs with toughness.
Everybody love the way he runs.
I just, you know, every time I've watched him when we played him in the past, it's just, we've been so much of a fan of just kind of the juice that he brings. And so, and he was another one that, you know, we're kind of looking at and it's like, would love to have him, but not sure if we're going to be able to make this work. And then, you know, that's part of the patience aspect of free agency is just that you got to start seeing, okay, like you do your own internal analysis of the market and, you know, you got to stay patient and, you know, what you may think might happen, might not happen. It's like, oh, wow, you know, and so, and from what I've heard, you know, he probably had some other, you know, some other situations that may have been a little bit more favorable, but he wanted to be here. And so him wanting to be here,
he did want to be here.
What kind of situation he's going to be coming into. That was huge. So we were all on board. We were high-fiving and man, I think he's going to be a great fit with Jameer. And look, and we still have Vaki, man. That's still, you know, we wanted to get Vaki a little.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't have no faith in Baki, but I do like Pacheco though. I think I do like Pacheco. I like his press conference. I was watching his press conference and he seemed like he was happy to be here. He's hyped to be here. And yeah, man. And then next thing you know, 2 days later, bro is in the gym and he locked in. So I'm saying if he can, I'm telling you, bro, if he could turn to like 23 Isaiah Pacheco, you know, we don't need 24, 25 Pacheco. We need like 22, 23 Pacheco. If he could turn into that, that's going to be nice, bro. So that's going to be nice. That's going to be real nice. Patience, that's one thing the Lions fans does not have. They don't have patience, bro. They really don't. They don't have patience. And they really should, bro, because it's not like we've been doing anything the last like years that we've been living and our parents been living and their parents been living. Like it's not like, bro, they been winning game. Like, yeah, they probably had like good times in the 90s with Barry. But it's like, bro, we had like this is the only time where I say, like, bro, we actually have a good GM. We actually have a good coach. We have an owner that believes in the GM and coach. And we got solid pieces of players on the team. Like, if you look back in history, bro, everybody only talks about Barry Sanders. Everybody only talks about Calvin Johnson and Stafford. Time for time, they might talk about Ndana Sue. Time for time, we might talk about Darius Slay. Time for time, we might talk about Glover Quinn. But other than that, bro, they only talk about 3 people in this damn franchise. Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford, and Barry. When you look at it, it's really not no much history. So, bro, we gotta be patient. We don't really have shit. Hey, we don't got nothing, bro. So yes, we definitely do gotta be patient, bro. We gotta be patient. I don't know why it's so hard for them to not like see that, bro. Cause I know they'd be like, bro, I just want to win a Super Bowl. Like, yeah, bro, we would love, bro. The city would be jumping if we won a Super Bowl. But bro, it's gonna take some time, bro. It's definitely gonna take some time. I don't know how long it's gonna take though. But the Lions are finally being ran like a real NFL organization. They are. That's what and people can't deal with that. Like they want us to trade for Myles Garrett instantly or trade for TJ Watt or trade for any of these guys, trade all our first round picks and see what happens. But then they're gonna be confused when we can't sign Gibbs. They're gonna be confused why we can't sign Laporta, why we can't sign Branch, why we can't sign Campbell. Like they're gonna be confused. Like why we can't sign them. And it's like, bro, the way the cap is, the way all this shit restructuring, they don't know about all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people that became Lions fans, bro, they became Lions fans in 2023 when we lost to the damn 49ers. Ever since then, they've been on the train, they've been on the bus, they've been doing all that. So they don't know nothing, bro. They don't know nothing.
Little bit more heading to camp last year, but he missed some time, kind of set him back a little bit. But you know the book's not closed on him as a runner either. So we're excited about the room in general.
And just how confident are you that Isaiah can return to that pre-injury form that he showed his first couple years?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the bottom line is when you run with the type of urgency that he runs with, I mean, you can will your way to do a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
Rather if it's okay, well, he had to push through an injury here and there. Look, in this game, you're never going to be 100%. It's a physical game, and he understands that. But you know, I don't have any concerns about what he's been through or anything. I don't have a crystal ball either. But just right now, we're really excited to acquire him.
Want to
Yeah, see
pivot
what
back
he
to your
does,
garden,
man.
Yeah,
your offensive line.
yeah.
Um,
You remember that? Huh?
yeah, it's a good quote. It's come back several
I
times.
appreciate it.
Um,
How's the garden looking? Is it?
well, it's better in some places. Some places we got some question marks,
Okay.
right? And
All
so the Decker situation
Okay.
was a little bit of a roller coaster
Yeah.
from us on the outside, right? He announces
Mhm.
he's coming back at the combine right after we talked to you.
Yep.
Not saying that your conversation, spurred him to make that announcement, but a couple weeks later, he's asking for his release. And so I'm
Yep.
wondering, I guess, as you're weighing the scenarios of how all these things play out, were you surprised at all with how that worked out? And then just given what he's meant to the team in the same way David, meant to the team, is there any disappointment from the franchise and kind of the way the thing played out?
I wouldn't say I would say it's disappointment or really surprise. Either way, I think a lot of those situations that happen, it all starts with communication, and what you've communicated with the player, what you've communicated with the player's agent, and so it starts there. But there was really no surprises. Again, you don't know when a player is going to put something out. So if you want to say that if there's a prize, maybe that was a surprise. But in terms of the decisions that he made, I want to say that would be a surprise. Again, he's been a really good player for our franchise for a really long time. So he's going to be missed. I know the fans are going to miss him. The locker room's going to miss him, but unfortunately, those are the kind of difficult decisions that have to be made at times. But
Yeah, you gotta
we
do the
wish
difficult
him
decisions.
nothing but the best. I know that he was a favorite. He always has been, and just wish him the best of luck going forward.
From the outside looking in, Brad, it felt like the offensive tackle market in free agency was maybe a little bit depressed, like really good proven players signing for maybe less than anticipated.
Yeah.
How did that market play out relative to your internal projections or evaluations?
Yeah. Well, look, I would say it started off with, again, going back to just the evaluation aspect of it. So, you have some guys that you know a lot more well known,
Mhm.
had started a lot more games. We're probably going to be in line for a lot more money or a larger payday.
It was time. It
but,
was time, man. It was.
looking at Larry Bourne, man. Obviously did a lot of work on him coming out in the draft process. When he was with Chicago, had a lot of exposure of him playing a lot of different spots. But seeing what he did at Miami, especially at right tackle, and then when you start looking at the films, like, man, like this is probably about the most consistent ball that I've seen him play. And so then you start taking a deeper dive of him at right tackle, even in the past, and you start seeing this level of consistency versus the guard spots or the left tackle spots. And not saying that he can't play those spots too, because he can, but that's what kept him up there for us. And then again, there are constraints. So, you know, you have to always weigh in that as well. So, so I think in terms of the player and his ability and his fit, and then, you know, it was a player that we were able to fit from a financial standpoint as well. Because, you know, really and I keep using the word constraint. So let me break that down real quick. So I didn't even realize this till probably a couple of years ago, actually, is our first 3 years, you know, 21, 22, 23, we're just going, man. We're drafting, we're signing, we're trading, we're just building, man. And so I think it was like entering the 24 season, and I look back and I was like, wow. I was like, man, okay. We had a first round pick in 21, right? That we have extended, right? We had 2 first round picks in 22. They've been rewarded.
Two in the
We had
23.
2 first round picks in 23. We would like to reward them. Well, in 23, our 2 second round picks we had as first rounders. So you could already say that those were 7 first round caliber players that have all kind of reached what we thought they were going to be able to reach within 3 years. So it's like, man, that's 7 first rounders that have all come like the players that we envisioned.
Do you think they regret trading for Tesla? I think it might be too early to say that. I think it might be too early. I don't think Brad regretted though. I don't think Brad gonna regret that. I don't think so. You know, I think Brad, he really wanted to get Tesla. And, you know, he did trade the 2 third rounders. Rumors they wanted James Pierce after Atlanta drafted. They changed to Tesla. Yeah. The way James Pierce is right now, you know, it is rough what he got going on right now. But James Pierce, the way he played his first year, he had about 11 and a half sacks as a rookie. That would have been nice to have on the team, bro, especially with Hutch. Especially with Hutch having 12 sacks also. And it's like his sacks was meaningful though. I'm not saying that AQM wasn't, but AQM is never gonna have a season like that again. I'm telling people that now. All the Lions fans, bro, that's so upset that we didn't re-sign, bro, AQM, he's never gonna have a season like that again. I'm telling you that now. Never. He gonna go to the Bucks. He's gonna be a rotational uh edge rusher. And he's probably gonna go from 11 to like 2 or 3. He's not gonna. I won't be like I don't even think he's gonna go past 5 sacks this year. I just don't think so. Now let me say 5.5. I'm gonna say 5.5. 5.5. But yeah, I mean 21, 22, and 23 was like good drafts. 24 and 25, we're still trying to figure that out. You know, hopefully Terry Arnold, hopefully he just turned into a lockdown corner, man. We just need him to turn into that lockdown corner. We just need him, bro, to guard Rome. We need him to guard CD. We need him to guard Chase. We need him to guard whoever's the number 1 receiver on the Packers. We need him to guard Jefferson. That's what we need, bro. We need him to start locking some shit up. Let's see what he's saying more about this draft. Brad catches a lot of flack for his free agents that he signed. What do you think about that? I mean, Brad just seemed like he has a different type of way of how he values players. I think he was talking about Larry Brome and how he can be a starting tackle on the team. How he values the, free agents, how he values the players in the free agency. He just values them differently, I'll say, than other teams. I feel like, even though I feel like certain teams probably would have picked up those same players as well. Like I don't think the edge rushers he picked up was rough. I think Payne Turner. I would say that, but I'm gonna get into that. But Larry Brome, K Mays, Pacheco, who else he signed? He signed some other players too. Re-signing Rocket Sin, that was a good pickup. Re-signing Malcolm Rodriguez, that was a good one. DJ was another good one. He was a decent edge rusher too at Carolina and on the Vikings. Like it wasn't bad. He's just re-signing younger players that are depth pieces. These are not starters. I think people get that mixed up. They be thinking he's re-signing. Like this guy is not going to be a starter. Of course he's not. He's not re-signing. Most of these guys, he's like the only player that he signed that's a starter is the center. That's it. Everybody else is probably gonna be depth pieces. He was saying Larry Brown could be a starter, but we don't want him as a starter. I'm gonna be completely honest. I would rather have a rookie, Moreau Freeling, Blake Miller, Spencer Fanu, Caleb Lamu, or damn, who's the other person I name? Spence, Caleb, Blake, or Proctor. Yeah, or Proctor. Yeah, like that's probably what it's gonna be, bro. Let me see what else he's saying.
Versus, we've selected the players, but we have great coaches, great teachers, they've developed and all that. Well, that's just the first rounders.
Mm.
Then I look back, I was like, well, that's not even counting the franchise quarterback trade reward.
Right.
That's the it's like 4 or 5 others. The third round, I'm going in a chronological order. The third round of Lee McNeil, the fourth round St. Brown, the third round.
Right.
It starts to add up. Like it
do.
really adds up. So when I say the constraints about what we're already doing from a financial standpoint and what we're trying to do from a financial standpoint with the extensions that we have upcoming, that's why I talk about the constraint standpoint. So, because I don't want you guys to ever think that, or anybody to ever think that we have a lot of money that we have it, we don't want to spend it. No, we're actually spending everything that we have available to us. You know what I mean? And so that's what I wanted to kind of make clear. You guys probably already knew that already, but I just, if that clears it up for the fans. But it is something that I really, as we were signing and drafting and getting all these players, we were just going, man. And then you're looking back and it's like, man, that's a lot, man. And so, talk about constraints. We're trying to get as many players as we can, or many good football players that we can that fit us within the constraints.
You got to stop drafting so well.
There you go. Look, we've done some good things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not always going to be perfect. I've been very accountable. There's some that have not reached the expectations, but
oh yeah. We know. Hey, Brad, one thing people will tell you is they are definitely going to tell you when you are bullshitting. I'm telling you that now, Brad Holmes. They gonna tell you that for sure. They definitely gonna tell you that. Broderick Martin and Hedion Hooker. I'm not gonna lie, Brad. You ain't never gonna hear the end of that. You ain't never gonna hear the end of that. Oh man, he ain't never gonna hear the end of that. Giamatti Manu. But we should have known that he wasn't gonna be good. Savon Vaki, like somebody on Twitter, bro, they was saying bro, why did we draft Dominic Lovett? Like, what was the point of us drafting Dominic Lovett? And I was like, bro, then I thought about it. Bro, he was a 7th round pick. Like, and I looked in that 7th round pick. I looked at that, that whole section of the 7th rounders. Who the fuck was we gonna get, bro? Like honestly. Like we actually be honest with ourselves. Who exactly was we about to get? Like, And there was nobody in that section of the 7th round that we could get that would probably still would have been on the team. Luckily, Lovett is still on the team. He's probably gonna get some more PT now since Khalif Raymond ain't there. Him and Tesla. But it's like, bro, what is we talking about, bro? Let's be saying shit.
But you know, we've been on a run where, and it's been our foundation, man. Like it's been our nucleus. So it's like when you have these high upside young players that fit, that are really good players that can help our football team, and we're trying to keep our sustainability at a good level. And so we're not trying to do this one and done kind of thing. So, you know, you can take two different approaches.
Trying to build it long term.
Well, let's not extend these players, and then let's get more expensive free agents. You know, well, are we sure that that's the right move, or is that going to give us the right amount of sustainability that we're looking for? So those are the decisions that we're always weighing. So when I bring up financial constraints, it's like, look, man, like, all right, hypothetically, say you have a $20 million budget, right? I feel like I'm going off topic.
No, please go ahead.
Anyways. But it was just on my mind a little bit. But say you had hypothetically, say you had like a $20 million budget for free agency.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can look at one guy and say, look, man, you can get that one player. And say you get that one player. Well, say that one player's $18, $19 million of that 20.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what else are you going to get? So then
you're going to get shit else.
Well, tackle, center, defensive end, DBs, that stuff adds up, man. And so you have to make the decision. So when you do your vertical stacking, you have to look at it horizontally as well and say, do you want this one player? But also you got to look at the gaps that I was talking about. You know, if player A is this much more money, if player B, if the gap is that much closer, is that a $10 million gap? Or is that kind of a $2 or $3 million gap? And so then it's like, well, maybe it makes more sense, because if we get this B player or this second player, then we can also get 3, 4, and 5. Where if we just get A, you're just A, and then that's it. And so those are the kind of decisions that we always have to make.
So I'm gonna say that, right? That's good what he said. It almost sounds like how Tyler Laterbomb, the center that was on the Ravens, bro. Tyler Laterbomb, everybody was talking about, yeah, we get Tyler Laterbomb. I'm thinking Tyler Laterbomb is gonna want like 20 million. He went from making like 6 million, 3 million, whatever he was making. Bro, the market of centers was like 18 million, bro. That motherfucker went from like to what Creed Humphrey is making, from like 18 to 27 million. He's making 27 million as a center, bro. 27? I know for a fact Brad was not paying 27, bro. We had like 34 mil in cap space when we reconstructed golf. We only had like 34, 35 million in the cap. This man Tyler Laterbomb would have took damn near half of that shit. Maybe even more than that, probably. Just by picking one player up. So I think K May is gonna be good though, bro. But 27 million for a center is crazy, bro. Crazy.
Bring us back to Borum really quick. And I
He's gonna be good though.
It's a pretty simple answer. You don't have a starting depth chart now, because why would you? You've got the draft coming up. But if push comes to shove, you view Larry Borum as starting capable. Is that fair to say?
Oh, well, he started a lot of games.
Yeah.
Well, on top of that, I guess to pivot from that, staying on the voice of the fan base, the number one thing I get asked the most is, or at least told the most more so, is Penei Sewell playing left tackle. When is Penei Sewell going to play left tackle? And I guess I'll ask you, has there been any conversations maybe this offseason, or have you floated the idea around maybe post Taylor Decker? Because I know you like to go into free agency, address needs, and then the draft is best player available. Has that maybe crossed your mind, the idea of him playing left tackle?
Oh, yeah. I think that's the beauty of having a player like him, is that you always have that flexibility of the possibility. of him playing left tackle. He's done it before. It's not anything foreign to him.
He has done it before.
Even as we're going through free agency, we weren't really pigeonholed like, got to get the left tackle or we got to get it right. We're just like, what's the best tackle for us? And then we'll kind of adjust as needed. And so that's kind of the beauty of it.
And just to put a bow on this, because I feel like a lot of us get this question. Has there been any contact with Taylor and his camp since, those kind of talks fizzled out, or is that door kind of closed at this point, would you say?
Look, I'll never say never. I've learned a lot in this business to say that, but no, it hasn't been any recent dialogue.
With
he ain't coming back.
some of these changes this offseason, maybe some of the hallmarks of this franchise under you and Dan has been kind of continuity and loyalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've hit a wall with maybe some financial restrictions you talk about. So you've had to say goodbye to some guys that have been a big part of this, whether Alex, Amik, Khalif. How difficult is that part of the job? Because you
should have said goodbye to Levi
a whole lot up till this point.
That's a great question, Justin, because that has been one of the hardest things. And it's not just because of the bonds you form with them. Like, yeah, that organically kind of happens, but those guys have been good players for us, man. So they're good in the locker room. They're great teammates. They're good players. They were productive. They were the right guys to have. And look, it's hard because we love to keep them all, but you just can't. And those are the hard decisions you make. But I try to be as transparent as possible with the players and their agents, and just to make sure that there's no lack of clarity. But I always, if there's a possibility, I try to be as clear as that, is that there's a possibility. If I have a good indication that it's like, I don't think we're going to be able to afford you. You just got to have that, conversation with them. And it's tough, but I do think that they respect the truth and just telling them like, hey, look, we're going to try, but it's going to be hard because we got some constraints. And, whether it's the player or the agent, or, some players or the agent just say, I just don't know if we would love to have you. I just don't know if we're going to financially be able to get it done.
So the need or the choice to inject some fresh blood into this building, into this team, how much did last year's maybe disappointing finish play into that, or was that really just a financially driven decision that you guys made?
No, I don't think it was really a financial decision. Look, now that was a bad taste. That was a bad taste, and the whole time, as let's call it the 2 months worth of just scouting and evaluating free agents, that is like constantly in my head. That's written up on my whiteboard. And so that's why I knew that we had to do the best we can. And we had to, from our standards, nail this free agency the best way possible. And look, I'm not going to say anything is perfect, but we feel really, really good with what we were able to accomplish. But it just kind of happened to come out that way. But we weren't like, we got to get younger. We got to get younger. Like that wasn't the intention. It was just like, it just happens to be.
Oh, shit. My fault.
The right players that we wanted to target, the players that we wanted to bring back just kind of happened to fit in that mold.
I want to bring up a very under-discussed, overlooked, cast-aside topic in this town.
Yeah.
Edge rusher. It's about time, Brad, someone talks about edge rusher in this town. You guys have tried different players across from Hutch over the past few seasons. None have really stuck from year to year. Yeah. AQM seemed like a great signing last year. Of course, 11 sacks. He signs for similar money as in Tampa as you guys gave Wanham to sign here. Can you just explain your thought process in choosing in some ways Wanham over Al-Quadin Muhammad?
Well, actually, it wasn't. It wasn't one of. It didn't come down to that. It didn't come down to this player versus the other. He was another one that I knew what we needed to do on the offensive line. We were all very aware of what we were going to do on the offensive line, and so once we made those financial commitments on the offensive line, I pretty much had a good sense that I don't think that we're going to be able to do much else when it comes to that position. That's another expensive position. Like what they call it, it's a premium position. So So basically, it wasn't like we're choosing this player over that player. I wouldn't even say the financials were exactly the same
Sure.
as well.
Right.
But just once we made that decision for the offensive line, we made that commitment. It kind of took us out of some of those other options at edge rusher.
I don't know, bro. Probably. Yeah, you got to have a good offensive line. Brad need to be fired? Nah, he don't need to be fired. He don't need to be fired. He don't need to be fired. Because if we fire Brad, this team gonna be right back to what they used to be. They're gonna be shitty. They're gonna be shitty, bro. A lot of Lions fans, bro, they're not used to a GM like this and a coach like this. They're not used to that, bro. They ain't used to that shit at all. Like when I was a kid, bro, or probably I wasn't even born, they had Matt Mellon, wherever his fucking name is, bro. All the old people could talk about Matt Mellon ass. He was horrible. He was doing some bullshit. He stayed for way too long. He overstayed his damn welcoming, for real. But Brad, bro, I feel like he just not getting started, bro. I don't think he need to be fired. But yeah, they paid Commanders, they paid a lot of money for edge rushers, which they could do that. You know what I'm saying? They had the money, they had the funds. So they damn near fixed their whole entire D line. So that's gonna be good. And also they might get Jeremiah Love if he falls to 7. So if he falls to 7 and they get him, so good. That's what's up. But nah, bro. If he did what he did in the free agency for offensive line, then that means he could possibly, bro. We could possibly see him do something for the defensive line in the draft. Hopefully, I can see a damn edge rusher or two, maybe a D lineman in the mix of that. I like the guy from Navy, bro. I think we should get him, bro. I really do. Landon Robinson. I think we got to get the Navy guy, bro.
Including Muhammad.
Got
I'm
to,
a
bro.
huge fan of Muhammad. I mean, like he's I was so
I
happy
am
for
not a
what he
huge
did
fan of
last
Muhammad.
year. He was another player that, had great dialogue with, but just weren't able to make it happen. So, again, but we're very excited about finding Wanham. Always been a fan of him coming out, especially when he was in the division. He did a lot of great things. He had some things that he had to overcome, but watching his tape last year, it was impressive, and they had him doing some things that were kind of, I would say, probably not right in his wheelhouse. I mean, a lot of dropping and showing some athletic ability in the middle of the field that was refreshing to see. But he can still he can set edges, he can set hard edges, and he can still win rushes. And he can play all up and down the line. So we're excited to get him.
I know you said it wasn't either or with those two guys, but you didn't start Muhammad in any of the 17 games last year, and obviously Wanham is that early down player. Is there a stylistic element that is important to you in that position that you needed to address?
Yeah, like we've always been pretty clear about the importance of setting edges in the run game for our defense in the way that we play. Now, look, at the end of the day, when the first thing you think about when you talk edge rusher, I mean, you better get out the quarterback. That's not. You can set edges all day, but if you're not getting after the quarterback, then it is what it is. And look, Muhammad,
Gotta get
even
to the
if he
quarterback.
wasn't the games that he didn't start and all that, but he was getting after the quarterback, but to have the ability to set edges, because I think that's when we're at our best defensively, is to stop the run. If you just are speed balling after the quarterback, then you can get gashed a lot. So there is a balance.
True.
And
That is true.
and that's something that DJ Wanham's going to be able to do for us.
Brad, I feel like most fans, I don't want to say most, but most fans know edge rushers can be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why there's a natural fascination with the draft to find one, because that's a cheap place to get good talent there. I believe the last time the organization drafted an edge rusher on day 1 or day 2 was 2022 with Josh Pascal. When you see that, I guess
we got Hutch in 20.
You got yes, but I believe Pascal was second round after that. Yeah.
You said day 1 and day 2.
Yeah.
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 Gotcha.
Yeah. I guess with that in mind,
oh man,
you said last year that there.
Yeah, man. Just go ahead and give the mic to my dog Jeff, man. You just fucked it up, bro. Damn, bro. I think people be forgetting we did get Hutch, but like people be like, yeah, Hutch don't count. Nah, I think he still count, bro, because we would have been pissed off if my dog Brad was like, yeah, we value Kayvon Thibodeau over Hutch. Or we, man, like, I think the best thing to ever happen was Trayvon Walker getting drafted to the Jags, man. I think that was the best thing, bro. Because then we got Hutch. That was the best thing to happen, bro. Man, bro, he was stuttering, bro. Let's see if he actually do this question right. Let's see.
Were attempts to go get an edge rusher in the draft. How frustrating is it when you want that position, or I'm sure, you want an edge more than anyone else in the building. How frustrating is it when the need doesn't line up with the board, I guess, when those draft processes play out?
It's not frustrating. Look, when it comes to the draft, you just have favorites of just players in general, and I try to be as transparent as I can with that, like openly about when it comes to the draft. You guys may not like it, I always say, like, we don't chase need, but if it does line up, it lines up. I want to say the whole outside corner thing was a big thing until we got Terry on and then Rakestraw and all that. But it wasn't.
People still don't like
outside corners. It was just like it has to be the right player, and so it just happens to line up. So I don't get frustrated when we miss out on a certain position. It's just frustrating if you miss out on a certain player, regardless of a position. But no, those were certain players that we tried to make moves for that we just weren't able to do. But one of those players that we tried to make move for was Isaac Tesla. Last year, like, he was a player that we coveted very, very highly, and we were able to go and get. So it's always going to be players more so over position. And the reason why I keep saying is that this league, it flips, and these rosters flip every single year. So what may be a perceived need at the time, when you're drafting a player, especially in the high rounds, in the first round, the second round, I always go back to Jack Campbell in 23. We didn't have a need at inside linebacker. We just loved the player. And so we just took the player that we liked the most at that pick. And I think now it come around where, this was the right move. It may not look like it that year, but, it's circling around. So I just think if you keep chasing the need thing, it's another contract's going to expire. You may lose another player. And you keep chasing need. It's like, well, okay, you thought this was a need. So that's why I've always been more like, let's just get the best player. So probably a long-winded answer, but just want to be clear. And we're always going to have that approach. But when it does line up, like in 2024, when it does line up where there is a need and you do like the player, that is the best of both worlds for sure.
Is that the best feeling?
Yes, it is.
I bet it
is. Traded times. Is there any? I'm going to try to get a story out of you here. Is there any insight you can share into just how those conversations went? Was it harder to trade up than you thought? If you're trying to get someone at a higher spot than where you're drafting, like what kind of was that process, I guess?
Yeah. Well, what we were kind of running into a little bit is when you start trying to trade picks, and especially future picks, what we were running into a little bit of is the trajectory of where people thought our team was going especially when it comes to future picks. When some of these moves that you're trying to make, you have to involve future picks. Well, our future picks are getting discounted, and they were kind of, so we're kind of getting slapped on the wrist a little bit for that. So it's just like trying this future pick, then it's like, oh no, that's really I know what that number says. It's really a 3, but that's really and so that was one of the issues that we had to navigate through that made it a little bit harder at times than others to make some trades that we were trying to do.
And then last one, do you feel like you've set yourself up well enough in free agency with some of the moves you made, getting DJ in here, Peyton Turner, to just maybe pass on an edge if the moment comes and there's a player rated highly on your board?
Look, I don't think you can ever have enough of those guys. Right. Really, like we're excited about the guys that we got at that position, but I don't think you can ever have enough of them. So I don't think.
I'm glad you said that shit, Brad, because we definitely need one. Shit, bro, we definitely need somebody on the other side of Hutch, bro. Most definitely, we definitely need somebody, bro. Like he'd be like a solid edge rusher where he's getting like more than 5 sacks a season, bro. Like maybe he's a 8 to 9 sack kind of edge rusher or defensive end. That would be nice for us, bro. But like getting like AQM, bro, he had 11 sacks. Like let's say we would have overpaid dog. Bro, if we would have overpaid his ass and dog would have never had, like, he probably would have got 2 sacks the next season, we would have been pissed, bro. It's like, bro, we overpaid you and you gonna do this? Man, motherfuckers would have been pissed.
Again, if it's the right player,
that
happens to play that position, then that's a player that will covet. But again, I always say, man, like if we draft that position and that player is not producing, what are you guys gonna say?
Bad pick.
You guys gonna say, oh man. But and in the moment, you guys, man, they drafted that edge. They drafted that whatever that position is. But no, it has to be the right player, man. Because that's why I say all the time, it's easy to just draft a certain position every single round. You can do that every round, but I think I was on one of my rants about the positional value things probably a year or two ago, and I saw one of the members of the media. I was on my rant, well, yeah, you can draft a position every round, but and then one of the guys kind of said silently, like, "Well, you have to be good players." And I was like, "Well, yes, that's the thing that we run into."
Yeah, they do got to be good players.
No, it's not going to be. I don't think edge rusher or any position is going to be ignored, but we're happy with the guys that we have right now. But if the right player's there, absolutely.
Brad, bigger picture on the defense. You've talked about a few times your free agency focus ended up, whether it was intended or not, to be your offensive line. That's where the budget went.
Yeah.
And so, just I don't want to be disrespectful to the guys you signed. Like that's important, but Amik got what he got. Alex got what he got. AQM got what he got. Those were bigger deals than the guys you signed. And so it looks like you've taken a step back there. That looks like also the unit that needed more work coming out of last season. Your offense has been top 5 for feels like a decade now. So given where you're at,
Bro, he only been there
how
for
much
about
work
5,
do you
6
still
years.
feel like you have to do on the defense here between now and training camp or start of the offseason program?
Yeah, I don't think that work ever stops. Look, I've always been a big proponent of, man, there's certain things that have titles on them. Like free agency is the first calendar event that has a title on it after the season ends. So everybody's fired up, and sometimes you can get lost into this is the only time you can add players during free agency. And it's like, no, it's not. And then the draft comes around. This is the only time you can add players during the draft. And then the trade deadline comes up. The only time it's nonstop. It's endless. And so we will never.
I gotta look into free agency and see exactly who can he still get. It might actually it's still some solid players that he can still get. But like thing about Brad, bro, the players that you be thinking about, he does not think about. the players that you never think about, those are the players you think about. And it's like, damn. Like, I was not thinking about DJ. I was thinking about K Mays. Because if he wasn't going to get Tyler Laterbond, he was definitely going to get him. And he did get him. So we're probably not going to see no center getting drafted in the draft. But I don't know, bro. We might get lucky and see a edge rusher in that first or second round, man. I hope we do, bro. I want to see an edge rusher in the first or second, but mostly like tackle in the first, though. I'll be honest.
Never take the approach that we have done enough, because I think this league is too hard to ever have that stance. So it's always going to be more work to be done. Now, you know, if you're looking at if a roster's gotten better or worse by the contracts or the number values. Now, look, you just brought up a player that signed for a bigger deal, but when we signed a player, it was less. And
Yeah.
so I guess I'm saying that to say
Got value
you don't
from
really
him.
know what the value is going to be until the games are starting to kick off.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's where the evaluation and the months and months and months of evaluation and the deep dive analysis and all that work that has to go on behind the curtains, that's when it's going to show. So, if there's a guy that we signed, maybe it was men's salary, you know, and it's like, well, he signed for minimum salary, so you know that can't be. But he ends up playing a big role and is becoming a productive player for us and helping us win games. Then the next year, he gets a bump in pay. And I was like, wait, hold on, man. This guy got paid this much, but the guy that you added got paid. Well, we did that the year before. You know what I mean, with the same player. So I'm not knocking that stance, but I do think you have to kind of wait until the games kick off to really make a real accurate assessment. And
Yeah, bro. When Dog said, I ain't trying to be disrespectful. Yeah, Dog was being disrespectful. Bro trying to judge. He trying to judge the players based off the contracts, bro. Bro, when we signed Alex Ezzaloni, bro, it was a good value when we signed him. Now, the motherfucker overpaid. Nah, I won't say he overpaid, but the motherfucker, bro, like it was bound to happen, bro. He was going to get his money somewhere else. That's just what happened, bro. He got his money somewhere else.
really, that's what all this stuff is, anyways. I mean, like, nobody knows what's going to happen right now. You know, like, we're doing the best we can to position ourselves to be the best team that we can be right now. But at the end of the day, man, I don't think you can say, well, they paid this money for this guy and they paid this much money for this guy and they drafted it. At the end of the day, you won't know until those games
Appreciate the
start
like,
to kick off. And, you know, some players that you may have thought may have been, you know, just depth pieces may end up being like major contributors. And I think that's the fascinating part about this league that we're going to find out about.
And I apologize if you've been asked this previously at the combine. I was there, but I wasn't able to ask you a question.
You were at the combine?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I
I
don't
you know,
think
I
I
let
saw
the pros handle it. You know what I mean? I'm
You're
just
in the
back.
background.
Yeah. But I did want to ask you. So I know you don't pay attention to too many other teams, but at least looking at the Super Bowl teams that are participants, typically you see these teams have really good defenses or top 5 scoring defenses.
Yep.
And it's the tale of this time. Defense wins championships. Kind of what is your confidence level? I know you spoke about you won't know till you get to see the team on the field, but at least with retaining pretty much every defensive coach and rolling this unit out, what's kind of your confidence level that they can get to that point or at least be an elite level defense?
Oh, high confidence. Just because, look, the things that, the things that I thought Shep did last year and his evolution as a coach and him seeing the big picture was very encouraging. And so I think sky's the limit for him. And then with Dan and then the rest of our defensive coaches and then with the personnel that we have. I mean, highly encouraged and very excited about where this thing can go for sure.
Brett, I think this is now the third time that I've asked you this offseason, so I apologize, but I want to bring up Kirby Joseph again.
Yeah.
Is there any update at the combine and at the end of season press conference? Is there any update you can share on his health? I think there's a lot of fears based on a potentially chronic injury that he might never be the player he was again in 2024. What's the realistic outlook for him entering 2026?
Yeah, look, we don't have a crystal ball, but I know that I just saw him the other day, you know, and he's working hard. He's training, he's rehabbing, you know, doing groundwork and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're going to have a better assessment about that. Probably, you know, in probably about a few weeks, you know, and it's very kind of just ongoing, really. But I think he's in a good spot that he can be in right now, and we'll just kind of just continue to assess him. But you know, his spirits are good. You know, he was the same Kirby, you know, good attitude, bright eyes, smile on his face. So and we just kind of keep having the regular check-ins with the medical staff and on his progress. But yeah, we're just kind of keep monitoring it and see how it's going.
I'll ask you again in a month.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Same position.
But I might have more intel.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. Branch has got a little bit, I guess, more of a understood injury.
Yep.
Like every medical procedure, there's just been so many advancements in guys getting back to full strength. When you look at that evaluation, because it's maybe a little bit more critical because of the contract talk in there as well.
Yep.
Do you have players you've looked at that have come back from that injury to pre-injury level that give you confidence that he'll get to that level as well?
You know, I actually have, and I don't want to say the player, but there was a guy that I saw recently that, you know, had a similar injury and saw his movement skills and was like, wow, you would have, like, I wouldn't have known that he had that injury. So I thought that was the most recent example that I thought was very encouraging. Now, we've run a lot of data and analysis and a lot of deep dives just on that injury and all that stuff, obviously. But yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it was fairly recent that I saw the exposure of the player, and I was just like, wow. I was like, that's pretty encouraging. So yeah, there's been success stories, and you know, but just hoping for the best in his recovery. I know he's working hard. He's got the right mindset, and so again, just like Kirby, we'll just kind of continue to monitor, seeing how he's progressing, and to see where it goes.
And you do have Thomas Harper and Christian Izzian who can step in at safety. Do you like what you have there with those guys, or do you still feel a need to maybe add some more competition?
Well, he just signed that guy.
Competition makes everybody better. Just like, you know, kind of what I said about with Jeff about, you know, just whether it's edge rusher or any position, you know, I mean, it's always going to be adding more. So I definitely think I like the guys that we have. Thomas Harper, you know, we had, you know, got off a waiver claim, you know, at the end of camp last year.
He was doing good too.
Good special teams.
He did pretty good
before we had got him. That was kind of the vision for him, really, coming in, but you know, due to circumstances, had to play a lot. And I think those are valuable reps. But, you know, whether he's playing a lot or if he's not playing as much defensively, he's a really good special teams player. So really excited about him. And then with Izzian, kind of the same deal. You know, obviously kind of came in more of a nickel, but had the opportunity to play some safety just because he's got the movement skills. He's wired right. He's physical. Right. He's urgent. And he's another one he's a really good special teams player. So I think that we have
he keeps saying special teams.
There, but again,
I feel it though, bro. I feel it, man.
It's corner, it's D-line, linebacker, offensive line. We're gonna keep adding, man. We're gonna keep adding, because I think, you know, competition makes everybody better.
Maybe points to how weird the job can be sometimes. We read the court report with Terrion. We've read his attorney statement. You know, just seems like a fluid situation. I'm just wondering, like, you're managing a roster. Like, how much do you have to stay on top of that? And is there even a little concerned that you may not have him for some portion of next season?
Well, look, you control with what you can control. You're aware of everything. So that's probably about the most that I can say about that. But I could say there's not one thing that you're not aware of that you don't think about. So, whether any situation, whether it's something that a player went through off the field or something that a player is going through on the field from a medical standpoint, I'm just more of a let's call it a pessimistic planner, in terms of like I just like to prepare myself for that. I'm not saying that something's going to come out the worst, but that's how I prepare on all situations. But I always hope for the best as well. So that's kind of my way of saying that we look at every single, avenue and every single possible outcome and make sure that we're prepared.
2 corners in the first 3 rounds is what I just heard.
Final question for you. You haven't wavered. You mentioned at the start of the interview how you want to re-sign that 2023 class because you got 4 dudes in there that are all pro caliber. Where are you at least looking at a timeline? How realistic is it for fans or maybe yourself to expect that those guys will be signed maybe the next year or so to get those contracts done?
Yeah. We haven't like earmarked pinpoint accurate dates yet. What we have is we've had dialogue with their agents, whether it's either at the combine or whatever. But so we've had dialogue. So make sure that the players aren't in the dark or in the gray in terms of what to expect. And we just got to keep the dialogue healthy. But we don't have like pinpoint marks. Right. It could happen, could happen before the draft, could happen after the draft. It could happen, over the summer.
Yeah, he definitely gonna re-sign all those guys. That's all I'm hearing, bro. Laporta gonna get re-signed. Branch gonna get re-signed. Gibbs, Campbell, they all gonna get re-signed. But people should be happy about that. They keep saying like, bro, how we gonna re-sign all of them, bro? I'm sure he gonna find out a way to re-sign all of them. I'm sure he is.
But we have interest on all those players. We would like to keep them all.
Brad, just one more from me on that front. Do you feel like you need to see what Brian and Sam look like coming off of major surgeries or injuries before deciding that you can commit to them long term, or are you already comfortable with that prospect?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's probably the obvious thing is you would if a player is not available or has endured an injury, you would like to see the player move around, but that's not saying that that's the end all be all when it comes to those situations. Right. Just leave it there.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going full 60 minutes with some of these questions, Fred, but this came up last week and I thought it was important to kind of toss it to you to give you a chance to address it, but caught fire a little bit that maybe you and Dan were having more disagreements behind the scene on the roster. And so I think we saw for the first 4 years, like this thing was on a steady incline, and when things are on a steady incline, like everything's easy, but all decisions you've talked about are joint. You've talked about disagreement is expected, healthy, you welcome it. I'm just wondering, have the conversations been, can we characterize them as more intense when you have a season that is that first step back and maybe you're trying to figure out how to get it back on the track you wanted it?
I think the only intensity I would say is just that when you have a disappointment of a season like we had, it's more intense in terms of, I think what I spoke about at the end of the season press conference is that it is a deeper, harder look from top to bottom on everything. And that's what me and Dan have done in joint alignment. So that would be the only.
Bro, that's what I be trying to tell y'all, bro. Y'all gotta stop listening to 97.1. I don't know why that radio show is still in Michigan, bro. Or maybe anybody can listen to it anywhere. I don't know. I don't know how radios. I don't know, bro. I don't know how that shit works. But y'all gotta stop listening to 97.1. I'm sorry, bro. Stop listening to that. Because Dog said he had a source and he don't want to put his source out there, but that's what he been hearing. Listen, bro. Just stop listening to 97.1, bro. Just stop, bro. Because they saying shit that they don't know about.
Intensity that was probably a little further because you get this eye opener. It's like, whoa, hold on now. And so let's just make sure that we're not overlooking something, or if there's not a tweak or an adjustment that needs to be done. So
I'm guessing they did have
that
some
would be the
confrontation though.
intensity. That's what's happening. I don't know where the other stuff came from, but no, I mean, if anything, it's me and Dan, you know, in total lockstep like we always have been.
Yep.
And, you know, we're just kind of looking at everything top to bottom, which we already have done. And that we'll continue to do for sure.
And Brad, one thing Dan has kind of mentioned at various points in the offseason is wanting to add more competition. You've talked about it a couple more times in this podcast. Do you feel like you've accomplished that in free agency, and how much more can you add in the draft and to a point where you feel comfortable there?
Man, you still
I
got
think
more
we
to do.
have, you know, and we're not done yet. Like we're not done yet. Like we're still, we got our eyes open leading all the way up until the draft. So this thing's not over with yet. Now I don't have a crystal ball. Don't take that as like the definite, because if we don't sign anybody, and then you're gonna say, but no, seriously, like we're still actively,
You already know what they're gonna say.
actively having discussions with players' agents. So so we're not done. So wherever it's set now, we're going to keep adding and keep adding. And then obviously when the draft comes, we're going to add as much as possible there with the right guys. And then when the draft's over, we're going to keep adding. We're going to keep adding post-draft. And I think we have a really good process for that as well, to identify those guys, because there's going to be, that's the cool thing about the draft is, yeah, you get the draft, you get those young guys that you're really excited about. But after the draft, man, there's some exciting guys that are available that have played a lot of ball that you can still add. So
No, that's true though.
I think we have the right competition, but
That is true.
It's far from done yet.
Well, that'll wrap us up. Before we end the show here, I want to say, number one, thank you to the Detroit Lions organization, Lions PR, and Mr. Brad Holmes for being so gracious with his time. Also appreciate our sponsor, Dog and Pony Show Brewing. We have a live show planned there next month, so stay patient for
that's enough for that.
the dates.
That's enough for that. Yeah, man. Brad hit on a lot of things. He said that he's building this thing long term. Gibbs, Campbell, Branch, Laporta are going to be getting re-signed. Yeah, man. I mean, shit. He said a lot. He said a lot of the right things, man, and that's all we can go by. So, yeah, bro. I think I might restart this live. I don't know. I might restart it, but yeah, man. Let me see. I'll probably restart it though. Also, if y'all see this video, man, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, bro, on the tube, man. Appreciate y'all.